Recording. And Mary, you can go ahead and take it away.
Thank you. Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. Excuse me. It is my pleasure to present to you today about renesting baby wildlife. As Kristen briefly mentioned, I've been with the South Florida Wildlife Center for a very long time. This is my 17th year, actually, and I have had the opportunity to reunite and renest hundreds of baby animals with their parents. So I will talk today a little bit about the different species that we commonly renest, as well as some of the techniques that are utilized and how you can help. So first and foremost, we are in the middle of baby season. So typically baby season occurs anywhere between early March and early September. Throughout those months, we tend to receive an exorbitant amount of baby animals, some of which are injured, some of which are orphaned, and some of which have been what we consider kidnapped, where they have just been found in an area that an individual may have found to be unsafe, or it seems kind of funny and weird to see this baby on the ground, and so they picked them up and brought them to us. But in reality, they are being taken care of by the parents around that area. On average, we receive well over 1,000 babies. Some years have been astronomical, where we can reach up to 1,200 babies. So far, we've received about 800 this year, and every day we're getting more. So it is definitely the busiest time of year, which is why renesting is so incredibly important. We have the capability of raising all of these babies. However, we are a very limited resource to be able to raise all of these babies and put them into the wild once their rehabilitation process has been completed. So it's important to always try and get them back to the wild and let the parents do the work. There's no better care than mom's care. So that is the primary goal, is to reunite these children back with their families. Some of the reasons that we are unable to re-nest would be if like some of these situations occur. For example, did the nest get blown away in a storm? Was the tree cut down? Was the nest removed by a company or abandoned? These are all situations that occur on a regular basis with our urban wildlife. Many times we can rectify the situation. So just because the storm blew them out of a nest doesn't mean that we don't have the opportunity to reunite. However, there are other moments, like, for example, if the nest was abandoned or if the parents aren't around, where we would step in and raise the babies. So primarily, these are the reasons why we receive babies here at the South Florida Wildlife Center. But as I mentioned, we always try to reunite first before we rehabilitate and then release. When you find a baby that is on the base of a tree, in the front of your yard, by your vehicle, whatever the case may be, first thing you want to notice is look at your surroundings. Is there a tree that has a nest? Are there parents? Is there an adult version of that baby on the ground, up in the air, flying, watching your every move? If that's the case, then a lot of the times they're not injured and they're totally fine, and we can just move them over to an area where they would be safe and allow the parents to continue to take care of them. Some of the songbirds are actually quite aggressive. Blue jays will tend to attack people sometimes if they see you picking up their babies. So it's always good to make a basic assessment of the animal. If the animal looks like it's visibly hurt, and what I mean by this is there blood? Are there feathers missing? Is there an open wound? Sometimes it's even possible to see if the animal has a broken wing or a broken leg. Does it have erratic behavior? Is it spinning around in circles or just not acting right? And, you know, being that we're in South Florida, it is quite warm, and there are some external parasites that take advantage of little helpless babies who are hurt. So do they have fly eggs or maggots on them? So these are things that you kind of want to interpret before you decide that, you know, I'm going to just give this baby back to its parents. Because ultimately, we want this baby to succeed in the wild. And with these kind of wounds or behaviors and parasites, unfortunately, they will not succeed. If the baby is injured, please bring him to us. We will always be happy to walk you through all of the steps to handling that baby with care and to keep yourself safe as well, depending on what the species is. A lot of the times, it may look like the animal is injured, but in reality, they are just, it's an age. It is a characteristic of their age, right? So like, are they begging at you? You might think that because they're begging at you that there's no parent in the area, but a lot of times they are. So it's always good to take a very good assessment of the baby that you find at hand. And I put on here to kind of always assess the species as well, because during this time of the year, we're not only seeing the cute little songbirds, the northern mockingbirds, the blue jays, who are harmless to, and essentially you're able to pick up. Sometimes you will be encountering little more dangerous species like hawks and owls who have talons and sharp beaks that are meant for tearing meat. So always just, you know, take a moment before you run to the baby to rescue them and make this quick assessment. Some of the stages of some of these baby birds that you will find. If they're naked, they're hatchlings, which means they're just born. They're only a few days old. They need a lot of care. They need to be warm at this stage, including this and the nestling stage. They can't keep their body warm. So it's up to us to keep them nice and warm until we either do the renesting process or you bring them here. So this is a good kind of visual slide to show you what the different baby stages are. All the way to the right, fledglings, they're meant to be out of the nest. These are the guys who you will find on the ground who are hopping around and they look like they're injured. They look like they're not being taken care of, but in reality, the parents are watching from above and taking care of them down on the ground. They are learning to fly from the bottom up. So it's always important to make sure that we don't kidnap these babies. This stage is very confusing, especially for, you know, most people. They tend to look like they just need a lot of help. And in reality, they're just learning how to be birds. This is the stage where I highly recommend that you, if they are in immediate danger, because sometimes that does happen. Birds are not conscientious of roads or, you know, dog parks or other like stressors and areas that are not really suitable for them. So if that's the case and mom is there and the parents are there, just move them to the side. Bushes are their friends. Put them to the base of the tree. Sometimes, especially this particular species, the mom is not okay with that. They will try to come at you. They're very, very protective of their young. So just try your best to keep them put them into a space where it's quiet, they're free of predators. They're also not in the middle of the sun. Obviously, Florida sun is very harsh. So you want to just make sure that you keep them protected, but that they stay within the area so that the parents can continue to take care of them. Okay, so you did your assessment. You're out in the wild, you found this baby bird, you did your assessment. I always say contact us. There's no better way to truly assess the situation than to talk to professionals. Our outreach team is incredibly knowledgeable and they can help you make a solid decision based on what you found, on what the situation is. You know, you can always refer to slides and presentations and other research like this. But we are here 7 days a week and we can assist you at any time with figuring out what's best for that situation. So always call us if you're unsure. We highly recommend that you take video or pictures that you can send to us. We have a series of cell phones that you can just send them to us and we can tell you exactly what the species is, whether it should be back, and we'll help you. We are here to help you and to assist you. If the rescuing of this baby, if this baby is in imminent danger and you are unable to capture it yourself, or you're just really unsure, or you're just physically unable, we do have the ability to assist you in the field. We do have some field techs that are available to try and assist you in capturing this baby. And if you need materials to perform the renest, like a basket or anything of that nature, a box, we can help you with that as well. All right. So when it's time to take action, right? So you have this baby, you're confident that you can pick it up, you have it in a box, you're ready to bring it to us. You can safely put the baby in a cardboard box. Shoe boxes make great transport vessels. Just always be conscientious that you put holes in these boxes so that they are able to breathe. If it's something that you can do immediately, make sure to keep that baby in a quiet and dark space, but also keep it warm. Remember how I mentioned previously that they are unable to maintain their body temperature. So you want to make sure that they stay warm. Well, one of the tools that I love to use are hand warmers, which is not something you see very often in South Florida, but they do exist. Also, a sock with some rice, and making that little bit of a heat preserving item that can sit inside of the box with them. Heating pads work as well. Just make sure to always be safe, and if it's too hot for you to handle, it's too hot for the baby to be on. However, warmth is really important for these babies if they cannot be brought to our center immediately. Please do not feed them. I know it's tempting, especially baby mockingbirds who open their big yellow beaks and they're begging for food, but each species has a very specialized diet, and their gut system is so new and so delicate that if you provide them with the wrong substance, they can potentially become sick and pass away, unfortunately. So don't feed the baby. We will take care of that, and hydration and everything like that when they're here. If, like I said, the baby does not need medical attention, put it back where it was found. Sometimes we're lucky that we can see where the nest is and the nest is accessible. So if you're able to do so, please do so. Always just keeping in mind that your safety is first. So I'm not encouraging you to climb 20-foot ladders to put babies back up in their nests. That's something that our professionals can do. But if you have that opportunity to return the baby as quickly as possible, we encourage you to do so, especially because a lot of the times the renestings are the most successful within the first 24 to 48 hours. Once we start getting past that 48-hour mark, it becomes harder. And I'll kind of talk a little bit more about that with mammals because that's a little more prevalent with the mammals. However, it's really important that we try to do things as quickly as possible. Okay, so the renesting portion of the baby, as I mentioned, mom knows best. So that's the goal, right? Is to try to find mom. And the reason why the renest process is so incredibly important is not just because we're limited in resources and we can't, we're taking in, hundreds and hundreds of babies, but also because the natural development that they get in the wild is so much better than when they can get here at a rehab center. Not to mention, we do our absolute best, but sometimes it is not enough to have this baby survive to the point of release. So anytime that we can give them that opportunity to be out in the wild and to develop naturally, we do so. This includes lessening the chances of habituation. Habituation is a huge thing with baby animals. It is not something that they can survive with. We don't want them to associate humans as their source of food and comfort. We want them to have that healthy instinctual fear of being around humans. And unfortunately, being in a rehabilitation center where the care around the clock is given by humans, that is definitely a possibility. And we just want to lessen the chances of doing that. I do have to pride myself in saying that our staff is very very good at not habituating these patients. However, it is something that is a challenge within the rehab community. And as I said, act fast. The faster we can get out there and renest the baby, the better. In addition to that, it really helps the stress level of this baby stay low. If the transporting and all of that is not really taking place, then they have a higher chance of survival. Stress is a huge issue when it comes to these little guys. You got to think about it. When you pick them up, they feel like they just got picked up by a giant predator that's going to eat them. So the fastest that we can act is the best, and also just using common sense in a way that we can fast track that reuniting of the families as best as possible. All right, so renesting baby songbirds and hawks. This is probably the most common of the renest when it comes to the bird world. We renest many songbirds. Sometimes we can walk you through it and you don't even have to bring the baby in. It can be done from your home, and we will walk you through the steps on how to be able to do it. First and foremost, you have to build them a makeshift nest, right? And some birds are cavity nesters and some are what's considered cup nesters. And so it all depends on the species. And if you're not familiar with what species you have just found, that's why we encourage you to take a picture, take a video, send it to us, and then we can tell you exactly what to utilize and what to do. But it is fairly simple to do a makeshift nest from just regular household items. Some of the things you can utilize are wicker baskets, laundry baskets, fruit containers. We've had some people be really creative and use tissue boxes, anything that can hold this baby and we can adhere it to the trunk of a tree as close to the nest as possible. You also want to put it though in an area where you can easily observe it, because we will be asking you to check on the baby. If there's no parents in the area, or the parents just decided not to take care of it, then we want to obviously get that baby to us so that we can continue the care as soon as possible. But we want to give them the opportunity as well. So one of the things you want to make sure that you do is, for example, if you're using like an Easter basket, make sure that when you're putting in substrate, which a lot of times I encourage that you use leaf litter. If you find on the base of the tree that there's leaf litter and it's dry, it's not covered in ants, it's not covered in other creepy crawlies or like nasty things, to use that as a filler, then just make sure that it has a way to drain. At this time of year, it rains almost every single day. So if there is going to be rain that comes down and gets into this basket, it needs to be able to drain. If not, the baby will definitely be in trouble. The best thing to do is to adhere the basket. I've had people use bungee cords. I myself will just hang it with a nail. We've had some really creative individuals who have used all sorts of twine and just whatever you can do to fix that basket to the tree so that it is stable enough and you can watch the activity for the day. That'll work really well. One of the things that I love to do, and I've been very successful with throughout the years, is to play the calls. I tend to really listen to the baby when it's hungry or it's in distress, and I pull my phone out and I record the sound that the baby is making. That gives me the ability to replay those sounds over and over again while I'm doing the renesting at a much higher frequency, so it can bring mom back as quickly as possible. And this is something that works tremendously well with baby hawks. So when renesting, for example, Cooper's hawks, I play the distress call of a baby Cooper's hawk. Most of the time, I'm able to record those calls when I'm handling them. They don't like to be handled. So when I'm handling the baby, I will record those calls and then go out to the wild and call it. And mom many times comes back within minutes of me being out in the field. If that's not something that you have an opportunity to do because your baby is quiet or it just didn't record well or you don't have, the ability to do it, believe it or not, you can find these calls on YouTube. You just Google, enter the species that you want and the call that you want, and a lot of the times you can find it there, and it will actually respond to another bird's call. And of course, we want you to observe from afar. It's very tempting to do a renest and to constantly check on it, to constantly make sure the baby's okay, to constantly make sure that, there's nothing in the nest with it. You have to refrain yourself from doing this because this is something that can scare the parents away and the renest will be unsuccessful. You don't want to constantly be hovering over the nest. Usually whenever I have an individual who's very concerned and wants to be there all of the time, what I say to them is, renest them in an area where you can see them from your window. That way, if you are at home working in your home office and you can look out the window and see the activity, you're far away enough that it's not hindering the natural activity of the parents and the baby. And another thing you want to take a look at is are the parents feeding the baby, right? Because the parents might be there, but are they actively taking care of this baby? Again, this takes a little bit more of more observation. If you don't have the time or you're unable to do so, just check the nest periodically. I would say about every hour for about the first 3 hours or so, and see if there's fresh poop there. There isn't going to be any poop if they're not eating. If nothing's coming in, nothing's coming out. So you want to make sure that is in the nest. And not just, put them in a nest and forget about them, because if they're not being taken care of, they will unfortunately waste away. And when it comes to baby hawks, bring them in. I would love to be able to tell you and to walk you through on how to renest baby hawks in the wild. However, these are patients that can potentially harm you or can be, a little bit difficult to handle. So in a case like that, bring them in. When you bring these animals in, especially babies that need to go back, I highly encourage you to fill out as much information as possible. Give us all the information you can. If it was found, where it was found, how it was found, any landmarks, anything you can tell us about that space in that area where the baby is, please let us know. That gives us the ability to go out to the field and say, okay, here's that set tree, there's set nest, mom should be in this area. And then that gets us rolling with the process of reuniting and renesting. All right, and here's some examples of like these makeshift nests that I was just briefly speaking of. You can use, like I said, almost any receptacle as long as it can drain. So if you're using something like, for example, these baskets, like the red basket that you see on the right, make sure that you drill holes on the bottom of that container. Most of these containers do not come with holes or anything like that. So just be conscientious of how you build your nest. And if you need help, like I said, we're more than happy to assist you and to walk you through. And there's many examples online of what you can do. Anything from water jugs. We can, for cavity nesters especially, we can use water jugs. As you can see here, there's a baby cardinal in a strawberry basket. So there's always something that you can utilize. Just be aware of how that nest is going to function. Okay, you want to make sure that it is going to be a functional nest for them and that it's not a container that's going to actually hinder them from being able to live in this space. They're not, most of the time, mom is going to continue taking care of them in these makeshift nests until they're ready to be fledglings and they jump out of the nest and they go into that stage of hopping around the ground and learning how to fly. All right, hawk fledglings and branchers. So this is an interesting one because a lot of the times when it comes to hawks, we do utilize laundry baskets and other larger wicker baskets that we wedge into the trees and we fix them in the fixate them to the trees, and then we put the babies in and create that nesting space for them. When it comes to hog fledglings and branchers, they hop out of them. There's nothing that'll keep that baby hawk inside of that basket. So many times it consists of professionals like myself or our rescue driver going out into the field and literally just popping the baby right into the tree. That's all it takes sometimes. It's just popping them right up into the tree. These are examples of it. So if you give us a call and you bring us a hawk and you see that there is no nest up in the tree, don't worry. It just may be that they're at a stage that they don't need it anymore. And I'm just returning them back to their family and putting them in an area where they are safe and they're ready to be taken care of by the parents. So many times it's just going back to the tree where their nest was and popping them right back up into those branches. All right, baby owl renest. So screech owls, especially. Eastern screech owls are very, very common in South Florida. They're one of the more common owls. They're very small. So we do sometimes have individuals who believe that they are babies when in fact they are full-grown adults because they are so small. That being said, they're cavity nesters, so therefore we cannot create just a regular nest that can be put up in the tree and pop them in there. We actually utilize special boxes, special wooden boxes. Most of them are either created here in-house in South Florida Wildlife Center, or we have, for example, Eagle Scouts or other volunteer carpenters who like to build these for us. If we ever need to renest baby screech owls, they are always renested in these boxes. The boxes are provided by us. We send out professionals that can fix it up on the tree. Same concept. We fill it with hay or leaf litter, anything that's natural. We never use towels. We don't want those little talons to get stuck on the towels. It can be very stressful. It can lead to injuries. So we do try to ask people never to use those kind of linens when making makeshift nests. Natural fillers are always the best to use. This is stuff that you can just find right on the ground. These boxes do need to be installed in very high and specific areas. We want to make sure that the sun is not beating on that box all day long and just creating a box for this poor baby. We want to make sure that, they are going to be comfortable. We also play sounds. Like I said, I take advantage of the baby's vocalization when I'm handling them by taking a quick video of the situation, and then I amplify it when I'm out on the field. These little guys, because sometimes are truly abandoned and orphaned, and it's a little harder to see the parents during the day, we do monitor them for up to 3 days. If by day 1 I see sign of the parents, I've had it where I check on a renest and mom is in there with the babies. So if it's a situation like that, we don't go back. It's a successful situation. If I don't quite see something so obvious, we do tend to go out there and recheck for up to 3 days. If the renest is unsuccessful, they're brought into South Florida Wildlife Center and we raise them in-house and release them when ready. And here's an example of that technique. The box on the right, that's the wooden box. That's what we go out to the area and put on the tree. Again, I can't stress enough. It is so incredibly important for us to know where the babies were found, what tree you've seen the parents in. Any kind of visual markings and landmarks are so incredibly important. That always gives us a good idea of where we're going to put this box. As you can see, this is one of my more successful renests where the mom really liked it and she stayed in the box, and it happened to be that when we did a renest check, she was in the box. This actually happens more common than not. They do really, really like these boxes. It's something that is a little time consuming and it does require a lot of work, but we do have many professionals here who can do this process, and we will always be happy to reunite. Okay, so what if you find other birds? What if you find larger birds of prey or other species? For example, great horned owls or barn owls, herons, wood storks, marsh birds, seabirds, whatever it is, that you can just bring to us. Every species is very different. So the renesting, reuniting process is very different. And a lot of these species are either dangerous to handle, for example, like the great horned owl babies, who also need to be put in a basket, brought up high, things of that nature, or very sensitive, like baby killdeer, or our nightjars, like the night heron. Excuse me. Long story short, these animals require very, very specific techniques. We'll be more than happy to handle that. So these animals can come to us, and like I said, when in need, just give us a call. We'll be happy to walk you through it. Moving on. So safety is always first, right? Like I'm asking you, I'm going through all of this information and like how you can renest these babies and bring them to us and everything. But please, 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 please always be safe. If you encounter a baby raptor and you have garden gloves, use the garden gloves to grab them. Put them in a box. Make sure they have breathing holes. Use towels to capture them. A lot of the times you can just go right up to the baby and pick it up with a towel and put it in a box. I know I mentioned that towels are not good, but that was just for the nesting part of things. For capturing and for transport, that's okay. This is, I encourage no towels when we're doing it out in the wild, and we don't want the baby to sit on a towel where it's not being monitored constantly. If you have a pet carrier, fantastic. You can put the animal in the pet carrier and bring them to us. Shoe boxes, again, work for the smaller animals, but always just be cautious, very cautious. We appreciate and admire you helping save the baby wildlife, but we also want to make sure that you are safe, especially we talked about birds, but now we're going to talk about mammals, especially when it comes to the mammals. Okay, so we're gonna just kind of walk into mammals. One of the mammals that we renest the most is baby raccoons. Many times the mom raccoon has many different dens, and sometimes babies become exposed. Maybe the tree was cut down, whatever the case may be, and you found a baby raccoon, that's okay. Many times we can reunite with mom. We always, always, always try to reunite with mom. Rehabbing raccoons is one of the more time-consuming processes that we undertake at the South Florida Wildlife Center. A lot of these times, these baby raccoons are here for 6 months and up. So if we can have mom take care of them instead of us, it is a win for everybody. And in order to do that, we do have to create some sort of makeshift den. So how that's done is by utilizing cardboard boxes. And in my next slide, I'll show you an example of what I mean from this procedure. But basically, you just want to have a box that has a flap and has breathing holes so that mom can go in there and remove the baby when she hears them. The idea is the baby can't get out. So you want to make sure that when you're setting up your structure, that the baby can't topple the box, that it's firmly planted on the ground. It's not in direct sunlight. It's as close to the area, to the nesting area as possible. And that you really do just keep a close eye on them. Again, they're nocturnal. I don't expect anybody to monitor these babies all night long. But just make sure that first thing in the morning, you're checking on these babies, because if mom didn't come overnight, it doesn't mean that she's not there. It might be that she might come in on the night, but if the baby is not thriving, then at that point we do require medical attention, and we ask that you bring them to us. So this is what the makeshift dens look like. It can be very easily done by using a box, like the image on the right here, and also by using cat carriers on the left. I know that we sometimes carry these plastic cat carriers. A lot of the pet stores have them as well. It doesn't have to be that. It could be any cardboard box, as long as it's at least 3 times the size of the baby, so that the baby's comfortable and it's not squished in this box all night long. It's perfectly acceptable. And again, you want to try to use as natural lining as possible. This technique really only works for the younger babies. So if you look below, we have images of neonates and like younger squishy babies. And so that is really the age is appropriate to use this technique with. And then here is just kind of an image to show you how successful this technique is. Many times the baby starts to cry when it's hungry and it needs its mother's care. So mom will come and she will do whatever it takes to get that baby out of that box and take it back to its actual den. So be patient and let mom do her thing. It may not happen right away. If you put them out there and you hear baby crying, as long as you peek out your window and you see that there isn't, it's not being predated on, leave it alone. It just means that it's calling its mother, and we need to give her a chance to not only find the baby, but also figure out what she's going to do next. Sometimes, they need a day to analyze where they're going to go. Raccoons they're very good at creating many different dens. So they just experienced a traumatic situation where they lost their baby and now their baby's back. So they need a little bit of time sometimes, but it is something that can potentially be successful. So we just ask that, everyone's a little patient with the process. But if the next day the baby is there, please do contact us. Many times we'll ask you to bring it in so we can hydrate it and either try again, or if the situation just doesn't look like it's going to work out and it's not a successful renest, we'll raise them here in house. When it comes to juveniles, who are very wiggly and just love to move around and are just kind of all over the place, the box technique doesn't work. They're able to break out of it and roam around, and it's just not really a process that's gonna work. So in this case, we tend to utilize other items like laundry baskets and even pet carriers. One of the techniques that I use quite frequently is the pet carrier technique, where I don't latch the carrier, I close it and then I prop it with a stick, and enough that the baby can't get out. That's the idea. Baby can't get out, mom can get in. That's what we're trying to accomplish. So it definitely works. Just it's something that you would have to do in a fashion that it is doable for both. The laundry basket idea works really well, but you don't want to put anything too heavy. No cinder blocks, nothing like that is unnecessary. Just enough to keep them trapped under the basket is good enough. And of course, I can't stress again, safety first. Raccoons are baby vectors. So if the babies are highly aggressive and you're unable to handle them, put that laundry basket on them and put the rock on. And if you need help, give us a call. If you can't do that, give us a call. We'll be happy to assist you with those more aggressive babies. Baby squirrels. Okay, so baby squirrels we have 2 different waves. One at the beginning of baby season and one at the end of baby season, and we have a tremendous amount of squirrels that come in through our door. They are one of the best renests that I can encourage. And that's because mom squirrels are very, very attentive and they're very reactive. When you find a baby on the ground, like I said, a lot of the times I kind of stimulate them and make them cry, make them, I know that sounds terrible, but make them vocalize so that the mom hears, hey, my baby's stressed. Let me go get it. I've had it where I don't even get to the point of this technique of of setting up the basket, putting the baby in the basket, and adhering the basket to the tree or putting it at the base of the tree. I don't get that far sometimes. Sometimes the call is enough for mom to come down, grab her baby, and go. I had it one time where she almost took it out of my hands. So it is very possible. But again, something that does require time, something that does require patience and safety. You don't want to mess around with mom squirrel at all. And when it comes to other mammals, bring them to us. Things like foxes, coyotes, bats, bobcats, these are all species that, again, are very specialized, have different techniques that need to be carried out, will be done by our professionals. That way, if anything happens, it's okay. We are taken care of by our organization. And just in general, if it's something that, for example, a baby bat, like do not try to renest a baby bat. Please bring them in. We have special bat boxes like you can see on this palm tree and other techniques that we utilize, as well as we respect the fact that some of these animals are nocturnal, so they have to be done at specific times of the day. When that happens, just please bring them in or give us a call and we will dispatch our rescue drivers and we will be more than happy to try to reunite them with mom. And this is a question that I get quite often. Can I raise the baby bird I found? Unfortunately, the answer is no. It is not something that is legal unless you have a permit. And a lot of the times it's not something that can be done at home. We do have specialized diets and formulas and incubators and other equipment and techniques that have been perfected but through many, many, many years to successfully rehabilitate these birds. So the best thing you can do is to get them to us. If it is not an easy reuniting situation or it's not an easy renesting situation, it is something that we can take care of here in-house, and this way it will be successfully rehabilitated and released back in the wild. Many times, unfortunately, and I can confidently say this because I've seen it, when individuals try to raise babies on their own, a lot of developmental issues happen. Metabolic bone disease, where their bones just don't develop correctly, or other metabolic issues that don't allow them to be successful in the wild and unfortunately are not living their best lives. If you do want to help us with babies, we have a wonderful volunteer program. The nursery is always taking in volunteers during the season. And we also have a home care program where we can teach you how to help raise them in the proper way and in a safe space. Like I said, we have all of the equipment necessary to be successful with this. It is definitely a process that requires a lot of time and dedication, but it can be really fulfilling and it can help us get these babies back to the wild. And that's pretty much it. I've been doing this for close to 8 years now, and some are successful and unfortunately some are not, but we are here to do our very best. And I have to say that it is always exciting to say the least, and we can always use your help and we can always be there for you when need be.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mary. So thank you guys so much for attending our Wild Lecture Series today. If those of you that are with us live have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments and I can relay them to Mary so she can get those answered for you. Like she mentioned, we do have an awesome volunteer program. So if you are interested in volunteering with us, all the information can be found on our website, which she has kindly put here at the end of her presentation. And then our resource center is open 7 days a week, and we do answer our phones from 9 until 4:30. So if you guys ever come across any situation, whether it is regarding a baby that you have found and you're unsure what to do, or just a general wildlife question, feel free to give us a call. We're more than happy to listen to whatever is going on in the situation that you're in, and then from there, kind of advise you on what to do next. So I did see a comment come in, but it went away for some reason. So here, let me take a look. Okay, so let's see. The one question was coming in, how do you re-nest raptors that are nesting in palm trees that are over 50 feet high and there's no other trees surrounding the area? What do you do?
So we will re-nest on that palm tree. We won't go as high as 50 feet, but we do have extended ladders that can get us up there. And we have a team that can go and set up these nests per se. When it comes to owls, it's a little bit easier because we do use the nesting box. So that's kind of a unit that we're putting up there. Most of the time when it comes to like Cooper's hawks or even red-shouldered hawks, it's mostly we do find a neighboring tree that's much more easily accessible and it's safe for the team to be able to utilize. And just because it's not as close to it as we think we would like, doesn't mean that mom won't take care of it. That's where the vocalizations come in. A lot of the times, if it's further away from the spot that I anticipated putting it, I'll set up a nest and then I call mom and lead her over there. And I don't leave until I see a connection between baby and mom. So now she knows he's there.
And then there was another question too. What do you do with the babies that get neglected by the mothers?
So if they are neglected, that we do encourage you to bring them in. And we will raise them in house, either in a nursery or raptor program.
Yeah, anytime anybody calls, excuse me, our resource center about babies, we always ask a plethora of questions just to get the full background of the situation that you're in. So sometimes people call and they say, hey, the parents are there, but they don't know if they're caring for it. If the parents are there, most of the time they're doing what they're supposed to, but there are those situations where maybe you re-nested it and the mom didn't come back to that nest that you made, or things like that would be situations that we would take them. Let's see. And then let's see, there's another question. For the nesting relocations for owls, what are the heights and trees that should be used? So this person came in a little bit late. So Mary had spoke at the beginning of the presentation specifically regarding raptors. If you do ever find young raptors that have fallen from their nest, always contact us, because that's not something we would recommend the public to re-nest on their own. That would be something where Mary, as well as the other members of our rescue team, would step in and take the measures that they need to make sure that those birds are being re-nested properly. And then they do come out and check on them too. Awesome. So I'm not seeing any other questions come in. The person who just asked that last question was saying that they're a wildlife conservation student. So we'd love to have you as a volunteer, and everyone else that is watching this presentation live and watching the replay as well. So thank you guys so much for joining us for this presentation. And thank you again, Mary, for taking time out of your day so you can talk to us a little bit more about wildlife re-nesting. We are going to be posting the recording of this presentation on our YouTube channel. So the information will be there. You guys are welcome to refer to it or share the video with anyone else who might be interested. If you're not already following South Florida Wildlife Center on social media, feel free to follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, as well as check out our YouTube channel for other videos that we have posted in the past. We're very active on there, and that is kind of one of the ways that we connect with our community, so you guys can see a little bit more behind the scenes of what we're doing here at our center. So if this is your first time joining us for the Wild Lecture Series, we do host this once a month, and we always have different speakers come in and talk about different things that they're doing in their field. We have some of our awesome team that's here at the center do presentations for us, and then other organizations as well. So be on the lookout for our future programs that we have coming up. Thank you guys so much again for attending today, and I hope you have a good rest of your day. Thank you again, Mary.
Thank you.
And we'll see you guys next time. Have a good day.
Bye.